The 33. Who were they and what did they do that made them stand out in Warcraft history? Okay, so before we talk about the 33, I'm going to first briefly set up the story of what takes place during this time so that you can easily follow along with things that go ahead and take place in the video. So, during Mists of Pandaria, directly following Garrosh's failed assassination attempt on Vol'jin, Vol'jin is taken to the Shado-Pan monastery to recover. While there, he also meets a man by the name of Tyrathan, and the two initially get off on somewhat shaky grounds, but they soon come to see each other as close friends despite being a troll and a human. However, in the process of the recovery, Vol'jin receives a vision from the Loa that the Zandalari will be invading Pandaria. After informing Taran Zu, Vol'jin, Tyrathan, Chen Stormstyle, and a small group of monks make way to counter the Zandalari invasion. Shortly after, however, they are ambushed and captured by the Zandalari and taken to the Isle of Thunder. It is at this point, however, that their numbers have dwindled down greatly. All of the monks in their group had died, save a Pandaren named Brother Quo. While on the island, one of the Zandalari officers, a female troll who admired Vol'jin named Kalak, once again gave Vol'jin a similar offer to the one he was given in the Cataclysm. Join the Zandalari and help the trolls re-establish their dominance. Although Vol'jin did take the time to contemplate on the offer, he soon realized that it was not the right path, and soon after, he managed to escape the Isle of Thunder along with Tyrathan, Chen, and Quo. Upon arriving back at the monastery and updating Taran Zu of everything that had transpired, Vol'jin and Tyrathan expected the monks to evacuate immediately, seeing as to how the Zandalari would be hunting their trail. However, Taran Zu and the monks refused to abandon their monastery, stating that it was at this place in the past where the Mogu were overthrown, and it is this place in the present where peace in Pandaria is secured. Without the peak of serenity, freedom in Pandaria will crumble to ash. Taran Zu stated that he and the 29 monks that remained within the monastery would defend against the 500 Zandalari and Amani and Gurubashi trolls. But at this, Chen, Tyrathan, and Vol'jin refused to leave, and also volunteered to defend and die at the monastery. Taran Zu bowed to them, grateful for their gesture, but told them, "Go, return to your people. There is no reason for you to die here." Vol'jin, however, responded to him by saying, "The Shado-Pan be our people now. They be family." And so, the 29 monks who remained, Taran Zu, their leader, Tyrathan, Chen, and Vol'jin, began setting up the defenses and accepting the fact that they would more than likely die that very day. However, they would give their lives not only for Pandaria, but for the Shado-Pan, their family. From this point on, they were known as the 33. As Kalak and her troll soldiers advanced to their location, dozens of her troops fell victim to traps set by the Shado-Pan. Some fell into pits with spikes which impaled them. Others tripped wires which caused boulders to fall onto them and their allies, crushing them to death. While others were poisoned when scaling rocks which had been bathed in toxins, causing them to hallucinate and panic from fear. Regardless of this, however, Kalak pushed her warriors on. She ordered them to use up all of their firewood the day before they assaulted the monastery, stating that they would either claim victory over the Pandaren and seek warmth in the Shado-Pan monastery or languish in their defeat and freeze to death in the storm. When the fighting began, Tyrathan let loose arrows that killed scores of Zandalari. The monks, though few, managed to slow the trolls' advance and also kill many of them. Despite this though, the Zandalari's overwhelming numbers sought to overflow the Pandaren, and so they called for a retreat. However, one person stayed to face the horde, Vol'jin. He stood at the center of a platform, calling for all of those brave enough to challenge him to come face him in a duel. The Zandalari halted, shocked at the display. Finally, a single Mogu named Dang Tai came forward. "I do not fear you. My skill will leave you bleeding from 1,000 cuts." And so, they dueled. The powerful Mogu relied on power and strength while Vol'jin relied on speed and agility. As they clashed, Vol'jin parried and evaded Dang Tai's attacks, occasionally striking at the Mogu and inflicting notable wounds. However, in time, Dang Tai manages to stun Vol'jin with the haft of his spear and prepares to deliver the killing blow. Before he can though, Tyrathan fires an arrow into the fighting ground, distracting the Mogu, allowing Vol'jin to evade the death blow, but still, the weapon struck hard on Vol'jin's left arm, shattering bone. Despite this though, the Shadow Hunter recovered using his glaive to slice into the Mogu, cutting into his leg and severing his hand. As the Mogu watched blood rush from his wound, Vol'jin once again swung his glaive and executed the Mogu. At this moment, Aloha paused the storm in the fighting ground so that all of the trolls could have a clear view of what had just transpired. As the snow paused and their vision had cleared, all of the trolls caught sight of Deng Tai's head rolling from his body. This belief filled the entire army, and then a troll officer shouted at the armada to advance. Knocked out of their state of shock, the trolls surrounded Vol'jin, ready to kill him. But before they could, Chen, Yalia, Quo, and 3 other monks fought in formation and made their way to Vol'jin, giving him an opening and allowing him to escape. Together, they retreated back into the monastery, where they prepared for one last stand. As Vol'jin looked around, he saw that the 33 had become 14, and among those present, Tyrathan was missing. They then set up defensive perimeters with Chen guarding one side of the entrance while Brother Quo guarded the opposite side. As the Zandalari swarmed them, the monks fought viciously, shattering the bones of scores of Zandalari despite being outnumbered. However, in the end, the swarming horde of trolls overpowered them, and the monks fell. Brother Quo, the last remaining monk save Taran Zu, fell. His head was cleaved in 2. Vol'jin too had his hands full. He was battling a Zandalari officer, and although the officer was quick and skilled, he was no match for Vol'jin. Vol'jin swung his glaive past the troll's defenses, mutilating his body and causing a fountain of crimson to gush forth from the wounds. However, Vol'jin was too preoccupied to see a Mogu advancing behind him. Before the Mogu could impale Vol'jin, Tyrathan pushed him to safety. This, however, caused Tyrathan to take the spear full on in the stomach, nearly killing him. Just an update, by the way, it is later revealed that in the midst of the fighting, Tyrathan had made his way to the defenders by slaughtering numerous trolls who were making their way to the defenders in secret tunnels. He followed these tunnels, and that's how he met up with the remaining 33. The Mogu then turned to Vol'jin, ready to charge him. At this point, however, Taran Zu launched himself into a flying kick at the Mogu's side, knocking the breath out of the Mogu. As he recovered, he launched a flurry of attacks at Taran Zu, all of which missed. The more the Mogu attempted to push the advance, the easier Taran Zu evaded the Mogu's strikes. When the Mogu finally paused, Taran Zu attacked, ruthlessly. With a kick, he shattered the leg of the Mogu, and while the soldier was down, Taran Zu punched through the Mogu, burying his arm all the way up to the elbow into the Mogu's chest. The Mogu fell, and the trolls looked in absolute shock. At this moment, a dagger flew from Kalak's hand, flying directly for Taran Zu as she charged him. Effortlessly, the monk parried the dagger with the back of his paw, sending it into a Zandalari soldier's throat. Before Kalak could engage the monk, however, Vol'jin intercepted her. Kalak's eyes raged hatred. "You be betraying your betters. Shadow Hunters have no betters." The two clashed. She was quicker and more agile than the Zandalari officer Vol'jin had killed, but she did not know everything about Vol'jin, not yet. She never saw him train with the Shado-Pan, and that would be her downfall. As she swung her dagger towards his belly, Vol'jin trapped the blade with his free hand. With the other, he thrust it straight at her with such force that it instantly crushed her windpipe and popped her vertebrae. Bone fragments ripped into her spinal cord, killing her. Seeing this, the majority of the trolls began to retreat, for they now had no leader. A number of remaining, foolish Zandalari dared rush Taran Zu, and as if he were swatting away insects, he single-handedly scattered their formation, crushing their bones with his blows and sending them to their backs. With this, the remaining Zandalari fled into the mountains. The survivors gathered around the gravely injured Tyrathan, and with Vol'jin's connection to the Loa, he healed Tyrathan, ultimately saving his life. Where once there were 33 soldiers defending the Peak of Serenity, there were now only a handful. But they had defied 2 empires, built family bonds with people despite their different factions, and Vol'jin had discovered what path he truly wished to follow. Though his race was a troll, his family were the Shado-Pan, and so tells the story of the 33.